communities that are very, patriarchal, babies out of wedlock.
In Malaysia, we are doing things that are right for the people, and especially for women and also girls.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Headlines. My name is Amalina Kamal.
And I'm Hazwin Hassan. Today, we bring you our special episode to discuss some rather pressing issues concerning the nation's most vulnerable groups, from elderly care in an ever-aging population to baby dumping and sexual harassment against men. We'll be covering all that and more. Fresh from her recent trip to Geneva, heading the Malaysian delegation for the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, we have here in the studio with us Yang Berhormat Datuk Seri Nancy Shukri. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines, Datuk Seri.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to have you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Right, now on CEDAW, you led the Malaysian delegation to the conference there. And it was just last month, actually, after which you said you established a Post-CEDAW Action Plan Committee. So could you tell us more about this initiative and why it is so important for us to be part of it?
Yeah, first of all, it's not a conference, it's a constructive dialogue.
Right.
It is different from a conference, so that it is good to ask this kind of questions so that we can share with Malaysians. I think it's been there for a long time.
Okay.
Malaysia has ratified CEDAW since 1995, and it's not really very much being shared out there. So now, when we went, I think 6 years before that, there was no report from us. So what we did was we prepared the report. You see, when we went for CEDAW, for the constructive dialogue, we had questions. And actually, we were given issues so that we know under which articles under the conventions that we ought to focus on.
Right.
So I had 17 staff, officers, very high-level officers with me, and 12 ministries, including ours. So we had to be there to respond to the reports that we have sent earlier on. We have submitted about 2 years ago in 2022, and then after that, because every day there will be each different country to be in the constructive dialogue. Then our turn came in last month. That's where we have to prepare. What we had to do was to update CEDAW committee on what we have been doing in the country, like amendment to the law or even fresh laws like the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act is something new that involves women and even children especially, and also amendment to maybe updating of our policies. So these are things that we need to share in CEDAW because they want to know what are the things that we do for the people in the country, especially women, so that we can update them with the latest on the women matters in the country.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Datuk Seri, you were also reportedly saying that the participation underscored Malaysia's commitment to eliminate the discrimination against women at an international level.
Yeah.
During your time there, what were the differences when it comes to, discrimination against women or, girls at a global scale versus national scale?
Well, if you refer to the issues that they have raised to us, they're talking about discrimination and asking us about there is no definition on discrimination for us. But actually, we do have. That's why we need to prove. Actually, on constructive dialogue, we have to bring evidence, data, and also we have to prove to them that we do have definition especially in our Employment Act. Is the discrimination against women in terms of when the female is when she's pregnant, you should not abuse them or discriminate them, especially in terms of work. They must stay at their work and in their workplace, and also doing things that they're supposed to do. So we should not be discriminating them by maybe terminate the service, things like that. So these are things that are of concern internationally. So to make sure that in Malaysia we are doing things that are right for the people, and especially for women and also girls. Yeah.
Right. So what would you say would be the first cause of recourse or avenue for women who feel that they are being discriminated against, perhaps in the workplace, for example, what would be the first thing to do for them? Who could
Well,
they?
now
Yeah.
I'm glad that when during this time we have quite a number of things that we can refer to, but SOPs that we have, especially that we have been advocating out there, we're talking about our hotline 15999. No worry, everybody will be able to call us at that number, and it is in operation from morning. It's 24 hours, 24/7. So we have 3 shifts in a day, so they can report there, they can talk to our counselors. But if it is not enough, they still want to take action. We have the anti-sexual harassment act, which is already in operation. We have the tribunal, the we call it TAGS, the Tribunal Against on Anti-Sexual Harassment matters, that's already been in operation now in our building at Putrajaya. So it's up to them. But even then, that one is only civil. That is for civil case. They can report to the police. For criminal, in case they face that kind of problem.
Datuk Seri, I'm actually curious to know how does the ministry tackle this situation, not at the end level, maybe from assessing, couples or let's say women who don't necessarily understand that they are being discriminated.
Yeah.
And then how does the ministry actually engage them?
Actually, prior to the approval of the law itself, because we have only certain provisions of the law that we were allowed to share with the people, we did our advocacy. And even until now, we still do our advocacy program on awareness of Anti-Sexual Harassment Act, so that the women know, not just the women, even men nowadays, so that they know what to do and who they should go for. And I must share here that, ever since we have approved that, and ever since we have implemented the TAGS, actually some men, whenever I have my functions, some men whispered to me, "Thank you very much for doing that," because we no longer, maybe the cases that they have heard in their own environment, organization, have reduced. Maybe because they're scared, they are the government now, not only you can go to the police, you can even go to the for civil case. So for civil case, they can claim in terms of they ask for compensation, or compensation for whatever they feel that they should be paid for. So advocacy is still ongoing, so that there'll be more people who are aware about the situation and how to go about with it.
Right. On the Post-CEDAW Action Plan Committee, what are some of the I suppose areas that you would like to expand on? Which agencies would you like to bring on board still? Expanding the network here.
Well, when we had our constructive dialogue, after that the CEDAW committee came up with what they call concluding observations. In the concluding observations, they provide us with comments, or even suggestions on what we should be doing. And these, in most cases, would involve the same ministry, the same ministries with us. If there are other than the ministries that have been with us, we will be inviting them again. Actually, the previous trip was a good experience for all of us, because that's the first time we work as a team in terms of all ministries going there for Malaysia. And I've been reminding them, we are here for Malaysia. We are CEDAW family. We are Malaysian as you no longer talk about your ministry alone. You are there for Malaysia. So we have practiced that and create that culture among us. Well, in case if there's from time to time, they will be updating us. And this we call it 6th Post-CEDAW Action Plan, will be a task force whereby we will have our meeting at least twice a year, because we want them to update us on what they are doing, because most of the things that are being asked are not under my ministry.
Right.
not under the Ministry of Women and Family Development and Family and Community Development, but it's from other ministries. But we are there to lead. We are the secretariat, so that's why we need their input, and then at the same time, with that, we will know what they have been doing as an update for us to prepare for the future, the coming, because it's a 4-year thing. It's once in 4 years, so the next 4 years, at least we know what we have been doing, and during these 4 years, I'm sure there'll be new laws, there'll be new policies, So this is something that will be helping us to answer for the future. We are already being given the concluding observation. The conclusion is the basis for us to prepare. But at the same time, we will also update on what's the latest on women recognition of women. I think the recent one was the Datuk Paduka Maimuna being appointed as the in UN Habitat. It is something for Malaysia as well, and we have to keep this because the numbers must increase. The numbers on what we are already doing and going to do should be increasing as a guide for us, because UN is monitoring on what Malaysia is doing. Yeah, and we have the community, the NGOs who are feeding the select committee, the CEDAW select committee, with what we are doing in the country and what they are not happy about. Mostly what they are not happy about, because this is where, with what they are not happy about, is how we are going to tackle what the missing link or the vacuum in the government implementation in terms of policies, so these are I mean, I appreciate what the NGOs are doing, because it helps us to improve. Yeah.
And you mentioned just now the delegation that you led in Geneva. You had representatives from various ministries. Some of them were from the Home Ministry. You had some from the Health and also Foreign Ministry. So could you?
There's so many others.
Oh, right. Okay.
Even Jakim.
And Suhakam as well,
Jakim.
right?
see.
Suhakam is NGO.
Right, but they were
Yes.
participated as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Suhakam is NGO.
Would there be probably more training, perhaps, because you said that some of these issues are not under your ministry's purview directly. So perhaps would there be more training in the future for, say, the Health Ministry to deal with problems from sexual harassment?
The thing is, that's why we intend to have this 6 post-CEDAW action plan, because that's where they will be updating us, because they know best on what their work. I mean, what their work is all about. Because the questions or the issues are based on what these people are doing. So we will call them and provide us with the information so that we can try to tackle it together. There are certain matters, especially, you see, for CEDAW like this, we need people who are really good in human rights issues. So quite a number of things are relevant to human rights issues, and officers who have been there, especially who have been trained on human rights matters, on the language as well. The language for human rights is something that will be very much needed to guide us on how we should approach the issues.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, enlighten me again. The post-CEDAW action plan, in which you want to gather a lot of all the stakeholders, when do you plan to have the action plan come out? At least is there a deadline?
Yeah, we've told them, I think, within these few months, because we are going to have it only twice a year.
Yes.
So this is just after the CEDAW trip, and then let them breathe first, because some of them, they're also involved in other international convention, so other matters in Geneva. Some of them, like the Minister of Health, they all went to the Geneva again for other matters, with health matters, and so different ministries, they're still involved in other issues as well. So we will have to give them some breathing space first. But anyway, they're expected to know about this, because I've been mentioning this to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do have one last question, at least for this particular topic of interest, before we segue into the next one.
Yeah.
Because we talk about the human aspect of protecting women here, right? But will you also look into engaging with NGOs that focus on empowering women economically? Like, for instance, ensuring that they have the financial stability, because of course there is no exact link to say that someone's income bracket, if it's low, they are more prone to discrimination and things like that. But I mean, it's just a mitigation plan of sorts.
Okay, it's like this in our ministry. Majority is more, especially our funds, is more on welfare. Some women who are under the welfare, we do help. Not just women, of course, men. Those recipients, welfare recipients, we're also helping them by giving them chance if they want to get out of being recipient. We can help them to start up with their business. Actually, we give about 2,700, and actually we are asking for more, as at least about up to 5,000 for them to start their business. But apart from that, we have the women department. The women department, they are also looking for ways to help the women, especially on economic. And then we work together with the other ministries. But having said that, actually, in the last Women's International Women's Day in March, on March 8th, the Prime Minister has also announced 50,000 ringgit for each iconic woman to participate in our program called Perantis, which we have just released yesterday. This Perantis is more on leadership. Leadership can be economy, it can be politics. We're trying to open up to women. So our target is 100 women. This is a good opportunity for me to also promote this particular program. So 400 women, if they feel that they can create impact to the society, we give them 50,000 ringgit. Of course, they will have to apply. So this is part of economy as well. And we are now also focusing on digital to help the women.
Yeah. So to our audience who are watching, don't miss that out. Don't miss a chance
Sounds
to
like
find
a
out.
really good scheme. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
is it
Yeah.
like pioneering women,
Right.
Yeah.
putting them,
So
okay,
we are trying our best to help the women
Yeah.
in all aspects.
Right. All right. Now, moving on to our next topic of interest, we talk about social security, we talk about at-risk groups, but one of the group of concern here is also the elderlies, in which, Malaysia has definitely seen an increase in the aging population in this country. And the state of it is inevitable because the aged population has its unique problems and will generate new challenges and demands on the health and social services if it's not taken seriously. Now, Statistic Department Chief Statistician Datuk Seri Dr. Muhammad Uzair Mahidin actually said that based on current population estimates, Malaysia has actually achieved an aged nation status in 2021 when the elderly population composition reached 7% and continued to increase to 7.4% in 2023. So, Datuk, I want to understand this first, especially for the aging nation situation here. What are the key challenges in providing adequate care and support for the elderly here, at least?
As an introduction, I must also say that we do have our own elderly care homes, but this is a different category because most of those who are sent to our rumah ihsan, they are people, sometimes they have been abused since, or they have been dumped since since they were babies. So they have been with us. Some of them, they passed. Some of them, they're still there. And then some of them, they sent themselves there, or some of them they were sent by their families who are not really direct family members. So we do care for them, but this is under the government, and you can see that it's mushrooming nowadays. There's so many of them, and of course the main issue is more on financial problem, financial challenges, because if they were to go on to the private homes, they need money. So this is something that hinders many people from going. But at the same time, this is a good business for the country. I mean, for those who are going to be caregivers. We see these challenges because people come to us asking for advice, on how are we going to tackle people who are being dumped out there. We have to you can see that a lot of issues, especially in the cities, but financial difficulties is one of them. But we can't just just keep to ourselves. But that's why, for me, the reason why I'm very very sentimental about these issues because I've been going through it myself. My mom, my late mom, it's so difficult to get professional caregiver. So we are now focusing on care industry. So we are also now building the care industry framework so that we have better facility, we have better service for the country, and we are working closely with NGOs and also with the private sectors because we can't do it alone. You know, and we can't keep them in our institutions.
Right.
Because we don't have enough in the whole country. But at the same time, there's a lot of people who are there willing to help. They do face their own challenges as well. So it's both, it's mutual. Those who need the facilities and those who need the service, they are also facing problem because of money. But at the same time, those with who are running the homes, some of them they have problems because they are faced with bureaucracy in terms of approval for their homes. So these are things that we are facing in the country.
We're going to get to that, but let's backtrack a bit. You mentioned about building a secure, I suppose, environment to minimize the occurrence of elderlies being abandoned. But do you think there should be a more carrot and stick approach of sorts in terms of having an Elderly Protection Act enactment here to go against
It's
those who
in the
dump
process.
elderlies?
It's in the process. We are into it as well. We, apart from the care framework, we are also working on they call it Warga RUU Warga Emas, but it's still in the process because we need to make sure that it is a very comprehensive bill so that we don't have to keep amending it. And then not only that, I think we are in the midst of facing modern kind of societies whereby personally I face this whereby some elderly, they've been asking me, we don't have this facility in my city. I don't have to mention the city. And then they said, I think this time children don't have to worry about us. We have our own house. We can sell it off. And instead, we will buy property. I mean, maybe a room or house which is within the village of the they call it retirement home or whatever home they call it. There are so many nowadays. So that's why we are now in the process of actually it's already being drafted, but not completed yet because a lot of issues that we need to discuss on this matter. Yeah, so it's already on the way.
Okay.
Right. Datuk Sri, perhaps to help the cause, maybe we can have expand the tax exemption bracket through the Inland Revenue Board, the IRB, for children or guardians, caregivers who support elderly, who have elderly dependents, and not just
Focus on
medical and medicine treatment.
Actually,
and that sort of
there
thing.
shouldn't be any problem with that. We can talk to the government because even right now we already have our own. We have our Yayasan Kebajikan Negara. So whoever is contributing towards this kind of facility, actually we are already doing it for hospital. Not that big kind of building, but we call it Anjong Kasih in hospital. We are looking for sponsorship, and then these sponsors or CSR, we help them with the tax exemption. So it can work that way as well because this is another area where we don't look at it as a liability. We look at it as an investment for the country because when you do that, you have lesser people who are sick, who are or even the children. They do not have to worry so much because they know their parents are in safe hands in these kind of homes. So yeah, we can arrange for that. I'm sure that.
Okay.
Are you
already doing it?
Are you already retrieving data from PADU? Because I'm only asking because that's our central database that we have already. Do you think that will help this further, to have data from PADU to inform you?
Yeah, actually, we are already having our own data from from those who are running the homes. The data with regard to those who are in the homes. Yeah.
Right.
But will you cross-reference it with Padu? I mean, to kind of like narrow it down.
Especially to get the real income value of these families.
Yeah, those whose income is 1,200 plus below, that there will be, actually we're giving them 500 ringgit a month. We're already doing that.
Right.
We are giving them 500 ringgit a month for them for this level of people who are in need of assistance. Even though they are not staying in any of the homes, some of them they are at home, their own house. We are already giving that allowance for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Dato', let's talk about, elderly care centers here. I mean, you talk about, yes, we do have public care centers,
Yeah.
but we also have the private senior care centers as well. And
Yeah.
the issue with the private senior care centers is that most of them are unlicensed only because the renewal process is a bit taxing.
Yeah.
So, for instance, like an elderly care center might be registered already about 10 years ago, and then they want to renew their license.
Yeah.
And then some complications when it comes to localities, because certain PBTs require you to get signatures from residential areas,
Yes,
because these
that's
are
a
where most of the
prerequisite.
correct. So sometimes these residents don't even want to sign, and it kind of impacts the processes of renewing a license.
Yeah.
How is the ministry actually looking into this and streamlining the processes, at least across localities here?
You see, our officers go for their inspection at least twice a year. Now, how would we know whether they are licensed or not? Because first of all, they would require our recommendation as well. So that's how we came to know about whether they are licensed or not. Because before they're licensed, they will ask from us for our recommendation. It's just like the establishment of TASCA. It's the same thing. But after that, they will have to go to the local authority. There are the local authority, the health department. They also need the fire authorities. But in Sarawak, it's also the land authorities. So different states, they will have different needs. So all this must be complied with, because the neighborhood as well. So in many cases, sometimes the neighborhood may not agree to it, but it depends on the situation they are in. So how do we help is by we provide them with if they say that this is their problem, because we send them notices as well. You cannot you cannot operate an elderly home without license, because it is affecting the safety and security of those people who are their occupants. So we work together with them and try to find out, and we also help to bring the matter up. Like myself, I bring the matter up to our meeting when we meet with the minister. But again, local authorities especially, they are in their own boundary.
Right.
So sometimes a ministry doesn't control them. They are controlled by the state. So this can be another challenge for them. But having said that, even our welfare department is also a district based. So this is where we try to assist each other. But that one is on the homes. We have also got an alternative for them. The alternative for those who are in the homes, we also have an activity center for those who are active. We call them the active aging people.
Right.
They are very, very active, and some of them you don't believe that they are already in the 70s, because they're very active. They go to these centers, they always meet, and they have health programs. They have like cultural programs, dancing, singing, and then some will have some educational kind of sharing, and of course some of them they're doing some craft work. So even especially for women, they do a lot of they're preparing frozen food for sale, and they're doing very well. So with the challenges, we try our very best to assist them to find out what exactly is their problem, because maybe if fire authorities is the one that becomes a problem to them, then we try to get them to talk to them,
Right.
so that and get the fire authorities to give them their comments on or suggestion on how best, or guidelines, how best would there be able to be approved.
Right. Do you think that this would prompt then the government to incentivize the public sector more, to be more involved? I'm sure you're aware that there are a lot of, it's quite a booming industry, a lot of old buildings being converted into homes.
Yeah.
But these are obviously people who can afford this, you know,
Yeah.
only for those who can afford. But do you think that this should be something that the government should consider and incentivize the the private sector rather, and facilitate your efforts, your own efforts?
Actually, even though there are not many, who are already into it, but it is already there. But it depends on the association or the private sector. They will have to request from the government. Normally, they would be in touch with the government and ask for their proposal. So if it is feasible, then the government would approve it. But it is not under my ministry. That comes under a different ministry. But it is already happening. And some of them, they would build their own center. This is where they would require, but the center is more on the active aged center, where they meet among themselves. They ask for grants from us. For the first time when they are just starting, we give them not more than 100,000, but for yearly activity, we give them 50,000 a year. But provided they still have to keep applying, because you don't know whether they're still there or not if they don't apply. So these are how we help them.
Right. But just to clarify again, at least, when NGO Age Code claims that at least 80% of, private care centers are having issues when it comes to renewing their licenses, the ministry is actually looking into them. I mean, in a previous report, we mentioned that, the ministry under the whitelisting task force has taken action against 770 welfare centers, and at least only 258 were left unregistered.
Yeah.
From this number, has it been decreased? What's the
That's
progress?
the figures that we are also getting. At the moment, it's still the same number. But at the same time, we still keep monitoring. Our enforcement officers would go and check on them, and then keep asking them, so that we want to know whether they did make an effort. They did make an effort to make sure that their center is in line with the requirement of the law, because actually it is for the safety and security of their occupants as well. So this is where we have to work together with the local authority. At the same time, we want to find out what exactly is their problem, so that we can also help to minimize the problem by also talking to the authorities concerned, to make sure that the authorities are being reasonable to them. You cannot simply just say that you cannot have this one is not enough, that one is not enough. But what is it that you can do to help them, because they already have the people there? So sometimes these are things that on our part we have to assist, so that they will be given assistance.
Okay. Thank you. Now we want to move on from one at-risk group to another. Let's discuss the issues of babies and newborns being abandoned. Because not every baby is born into easy circumstances, a warm home, or loving families here, right? Now, YB, you mentioned earlier this year during a special chambers session at Dewan Rakyat that between 2018 and February of this year, a total of 509 cases of baby dumping were reported. And these are with investigation papers opened by the police, the PDRM. YB, can we build a safe future where all newborns are welcome here at least?
Yeah, we never rejected them, because it is our responsibility to make sure that we keep them safe under our shelter. But of course, there are procedures. Okay, when there are baby dumping, when there are issues, that first of all, our SOP says we have to bring to hospital to make sure that they are healthy, and then bring it to the police station when we have to obtain police permission for us to handle the baby. The thing is, you see, sometimes it will be police station first, or sometimes it will be direct to the health care, because sometimes when people report about this matter, we have to see the situation, but always we have to make sure that is the baby's health we give priority to the baby's health, and then after that, then we bring to the police. Because some normally they will bring together the police, because there are police also at the hospital. So we work together, and after that we have to bring to court. Then we have to propose to the court, either we want to get somebody who is orang yang layak dan sesuai, they call it OYLS, to take care of the baby. There are always people who want to take care of babies, and they're always asking for those their opportunity to get babies who are being dumped, if possible, because some of them they really need babies, or some of them they just want to help. So we have to obtain court order, either the OYLS given by the court, agreed by the court, or give to us. So we will take care of the baby. Actually, there are many of them.
And the government has seen some initiatives being introduced. One of them is obviously the baby hatch.
Yeah.
And you've got multiple NGOs working together closely
Actually,
with
we
JKM.
are working together with NGOs.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, since the introduction of these baby hatches and other sort of engagements by going to, all the smaller communities to talk about, matters such as this, how effective has, how positive has the statistics been? Do you see
It's
any
like
increase?
this, like
Increase?
baby hatch. We hardly talk about it because there are discussions between my ministry, especially the welfare department, and those who are running the baby hatch, which is the NGO. So because they have to comply with the law as well, because it still had, because some of them they feel that our department is the one who in a way delay the whole thing, for them to handle the baby in the baby hatch. Because the thing is, both of us, be it those carer in the baby hatch or our side, we still have to comply with the law. The SOP is still there, because these are not our babies yet. We have to obtain court order. So that is a process that, even then, it's not really very, very long. But somehow in Malaysia, we have a lot of people who are willing to take care of the babies. Apart from the baby hatch carers who are also assisting, it's just that sometimes to them, we are quite slow because of the process. We cannot give the baby immediately just like that when we found the baby, because we are also under the scrutiny of the laws, we have to comply with the requirements of the law. So we hope people also understand out there, that we are not there to control, but we are here to assist. And all the NGOs are also trying to help, trying their best to also help. So far it's so far so good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because I wanted to follow up on that, because we have all these safety nets, but then when the ministry is slow, or at least the welfare department is slow, you have people who are exploiting the, I suppose, situation. So you see online where people are offering service of ambil beri dengan ikhlas. If you just Google on Facebook and everything, you have all sorts of these groups. But people don't necessarily understand that when you want to adopt or you want to take over a baby, you must be facilitated by JKM. But you see all these activities rampant.
And also the registration department.
Correct.
Yeah.
So Datuk, maybe to macam put an emphasis on how that is wrong, at least to people who want to adopt, who want to take care of babies. What would you have to say about that?
Actually, those procedures are also to help them, because you see now they are talking about citizenship, which is coming up in Parliament soon. You see, because of this kind of issue, when you do not follow the procedure, this is the one that caused the problem to the kid itself. In the future, they will have problem going to school, Sometimes, of course, the government is very, very fair, allowing the kid to go to school, even though they don't have documentation. So these are the things that we are trying to help out with. You see, we are there to assist. Because we are happy when people want to adopt the baby, but just comply with the law. They just need the report from our side, because the registration ministry agency just require our recommendation, and then the whole process is theirs and the registry department. because they're also trying to help so that they will have proper registration, whether the kid is adopted, even once the kid is adopted, they still have some, at least they are uh, recognized by the law of the country.
Right.
And if anything happens in the future, they do have documents to show that this baby is adopted. But sometimes you don't know where this baby comes from, So that's where the JKM is needed, because if the baby is just found, just by the roadside, you don't know whether the mother or the parents are Malaysians or not. It is assumed that the parents is Malaysian, so that's where we come in to help.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, people have good intentions. It's just that sometimes good intentions pave the road to hell. Sometimes,
Correct. And that was great. Okay. I mean, I've done a few reports in terms of asking all these orphanages who takes in babies and those are abandoned.
Yeah.
The issue that they say is that a lot of all these kids, if they don't know their biological parents, is that because they need to be registered, right, to get the birth certificate and stuff that. But sometimes it's hard because anak ni tak sah taraf in that sense, right? So in that situation, what is the normal process to ensure that this
That's why we
child
suggest they work with
has
us,
documents?
because we are the ministry, and the agency, welfare department, is the agency that provides the assistance for the government to help to recognize and help them to speed up with their documentation process. Because at the end of the day, even if they don't want to come to us, at the end of the day, the court will, the welfare department, the registry department will ask, where's the recommendation from the welfare department? So, we have no problem. You can keep the baby. If you want to keep the baby, it's up to you. But the thing is, we are here to help. So, you were mentioning about, you don't know the parents, and then some people just pick them and then just want to keep them. That's very good of Malaysians. Well, always being very generous in helping the kid, but we need to make sure that this kid is healthy. After that, when we help out, you see now with the process of the citizenship, the amendment to the constitution. This is one way we are trying to help. So for those who are not their parents are not known, when they are kept by us, we are their mothers, we are the fathers.
Right.
So that will be the process later.
Maybe you can touch on that a bit. Datuk Sri, were your ministry ever engaged to, help in the discussion in forming the amendments, at least for Malaysian mothers who want their children to be granted?
Actually, it's the role of the Home Affairs Ministry, because it's not under us. We are only assisting. But of course, they are always coming to us for the details in terms of more on assisting to speed up the process. But it is under the Home Ministry to engage on the amendments, and they have been engaging with the ministry, the Home Ministry.
Engaging on the amendments is one aspect, but in terms of at least from the Women, Family and Community Development Ministry here, the idea of strengthening family institutions here, because that is at least what that bill is supposed to push for, right? Maybe your own thoughts in terms of how we can look at addressing statelessness here.
Actually, we it has been a process that we have always been engaging with them, and they also come to us asking for advice. In fact, before we left for Geneva, I've been engaging with NGOs, and then they were telling me, all the limitations that they're facing. So we try our best to assist on whatever way that we can assist. But we must also work closely with Home Affairs Ministry in order for us to assist them. Actually, the Home Affairs Ministry is working very closely with the NGOs to place for shelter of for the children who are in this situation. And in our case, we are also working with NGOs to shelter them, especially those abused, especially if they come with their mothers or whoever they come with who are abused. We get the NGOs to shelter them. We give them grants, but they are not supposed to be publicly told to the people. Otherwise, some people might still want to action is not completed for them on abuse cases. So this is why we have to know where our limitation is, our boundary is in terms of our jurisdiction. So we work together with the various ministry and of course with the NGO as well. Yeah.
One last question.
I was wondering if I can just go back to baby dumping.
Yeah,
a little
sure.
bit.
Can.
I mean, good initiative.
A little bit
We've got
excited,
all
right?
these measures in place, especially with the baby hatches. But I just want to know, Datuk Sri, how would you respond to people out there who are not so keen on the idea of having baby hatches because it's somewhat a way to encourage, babies out of wedlock?
Yeah,
If I
actually, that's
may.
the reason
Yeah.
why I
So
told
how
you
would you-
I don't really publicize this because I can understand like there are some people who are not really in favor of this issue or in this particular practice, but they're also helping. We help them in our own way. We don't really promote because like you rightly put in the words that some people they may not be very happy, some people may take advantage out of the situation. Actually, if you're into this industry, then you realize a lot of things are happening which may not be in favor of what what the society, the real society is about. So that's why on one hand I don't mind helping those who are running the baby hatch. On the other hand, I also have to make sure that we are doing the right thing. We also help those teenage pregnancies with us, and then some teenagers who are into this because of they don't understand, and after that they just dump because some even put the notes. If I'm not mistaken, we were told, some of them they said, no, if you don't take this baby, then I'll just dump, throw in the toilet bowl. This sort of irresponsible acts by some people. That's why we have to consider whether to really talk big about the baby hash or talking big about the teenage pregnancies because they're young people.
Right.
So we need to work together with them. We have our LPPKN to assist as well with more on education. Yeah.
I mean, so from my research here, at least the reasons for abandonment, especially in the cases that I earlier mentioned, about more than 500, right, that had investigation papers opened by the police. So only 50 cases out of the total have led to charges in the magistrate's court. And the charges include perpetrators were charged under Section 302 of the Penal Code for murder, charged under Section 307 for attempted murder, as well as, these two charges really depends on the evidence that was gained.
That's why
right?
if there's no evidence, it's very difficult.
Correct. So, that's why the case numbers are very low here in terms of being charged. But the reasons for abandonment here, at least it's financial problems, as you mentioned previously, usually, family disputes, children with disabilities, as well as children kept by others during childhood. And then I suppose at one point they said, I'm going to give up.
Some of them are non-Malaysians. You can see from the, especially those foreign people. So that's why these are the categories, like what you mentioned just now. I just add on.
Right. So at least what are some of the policies or at least legislative changes that you would like to see to at least govern, innocent babies here?
They just sent to us. But in terms of legislation, we have just formed our Jabatan Pembangunan Kanak-Kanak last year, September last year, and we are in the process of making amending our Akta Kanak-Kanak. That will be, we hope that we can complete it this year because of new things that's happening and because of the new Jabatan Pembangunan Kanak-Kanak. There are some activities that may not have been covered under the previous under the law previously. So now we are improving the law. So we're looking into it as well. But with regard to those kids, now those babies, this comes under the amendment to the Constitution, the Federal Constitution. So we're waiting for that to be debated. It has already been tabled by the minister, with the hope that there will be improvements in tackling this Um, but for a start, actually, we can see that even those without documents, they can go to school. But after that, after the secondary school, they cannot move further. But on our part in my ministry, we are hoping to have more. Actually, we already have those who have no documents. They're with us. They have even completed their Form 5. So what we do, we provide them. We still assist them with the documents. That at the same time, job matching, trying to get them some jobs. Some even go to universities. Actually, the recent one when we had we always celebrate for them. We had 7 of them who had 7 very good results in Form 5, and then we call them Anak Anjong Sinar. Anak Anjong Sinar means actually we want to build this Anjong Sinar for them, a house for them. Some are already housed by our Yayasan Kebajikan Negara, but we have to rent a place for them because they don't have relatives. They have been abandoned. So some of them are Malaysians, some may not be Malaysians because there's no way for you to prove that they have there's no evidence at all that they are Malaysians, but they're with us. So this is one way we tackle them, and we help them. We send them for job, and then they're also coming. This is the second batch of Anjung Sinar. The first batch joined us again with our programs, training programs, even though they're already working, and some already in university. So we are trying to motivate them to become better citizen, more responsible. It's just that we are their mothers, we are their fathers. They don't have families. Even if they have relatives, they are not accepted. In most cases, they are not accepted.
And they are stateless in a sense as well.
Some of them they are Malaysians. It's just they are being abandoned. But there are people. There's one case whereby the mother who abandoned this kid came back. Apparently, I asked, how did the mother know that this is her kid? She had been following because she couldn't take care of the son. It's a son. He's now working in the military. So she had been following who and where this kid had been sent to. And when the kid is already working now, she went to claim that I am your mother. But I think there are some kind of evidence to show that yes, she's the mother, and this kid also accepted her. Just he said there's nothing much I can do, but at least I have a mother now. So these are the kind of situations that we're facing. So we hope that we can build this Anjung Sinar. This is where we work with those who want to do their CSR with us, so that we can help to house them while they're waiting to look for their own jobs and have their own money to rent a place. We are helping them, we are assisting them. And then on the documentation, this is between us and the Home Ministry. We hope that everything is settled by this coming parliamentary session, so that we can assist them, and we are the ones who will be helping them to get the documents.
Right.
So, I mean, based on the SOPs, that will be our duty.
Yeah. So all eyes are on the next parliamentary sitting as well, because a lot of things are expected to be tabled as well.
Yes.
Right. We're going to move on to our last segment, right?
One, yes.
Yeah.
Right now, on to sexual harassment against men, Datuk Seri. It was in the news recently that sexual harassment against men is on the rise. Is this just a case of it getting worse, or are men actually more open to reporting it?
Yeah, the situation on sexual harassment against men is like this. When we first started to do our advocacy on Sexual Harassment Act when we first started last year, with the figures that we got from the police was only about 11 of it's not many for men, because our report must be based on report from the police. But having said that, while we are having our roadshow, and suddenly, because we have our pusat social setempat PSST. This actually the counselors running the counter, and suddenly you see more men coming forward to report. But this is not under police. This is under our own counselors counter. So from there we can see that there are also men who have been sexually harassed by both men and women.
All right. Okay.
So we don't know whatever the reason is, but this is the reason why the men are coming forward openly to report, because actually there was about a month ago, I have one of our officers. He received a call from his friend. I went to this. His story was this. I went to this particular store to buy shirts and pants, he said. So I was led by this particular guy, the salesman, to this room for fitting. It's a fitting room. So when he went there, so this guy was doing something to him. Then he said, "Oh, I think I can report. This is what you call sexual harassment,"
Right.
because he felt that, and suddenly, he felt awkward. So you see, it's some people taking advantage out of the situation whereby he wants to do fitting, and suddenly this guy went in because he's also a man. To him, it's okay, but it's also not okay for him to be in the room,
Right.
in
Yeah.
the fitting
Exactly.
room.
Yeah.
So these are situations, and as I mentioned earlier on, a few days ago when I had my function, so one guy approached me. "Thank you, YB, for making this big. Your announcement on sexual harassment. Things are getting things are improving in my organization, and the girls are telling me it's good for this to happen, so that because we have the tribunal where they can go to report. So thank you very much. Keep doing it," she said. So you see, he was whispering to me, meaning that they have been under pressure all the while. They've been keeping to themselves. I said, "Hey, so your organization is not just my organization, other organizations as well. We are talking about it now." So the women feel more secure.
Right.
Mhm.
I think they're breaking the taboo, breaking the stigma on the women's side, but also on the men's side, because especially when it comes to communities that are very patriarchal, so
Yeah.
they look at the idea of toxic. I mean, apparently there's a term. It's called toxic masculinity here.
Yeah.
Like men must be strong, men must be, men must not complain, all that. But it actually contributes to the underreporting cases of men being sexually harassed.
Yeah, that cause mentally stress
Right.
or
Yes.
depressed to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does the ministry have any sort of statistics to highlight whether the sexual harassment among, I mean, maybe not just men, because sexual harassment does not discriminate, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
But like, does it happen more at home or more at the workplace, in public? Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, in many cases, it's more on people who know you, especially to the children.
Okay.
But the ones I'm mentioning, that one is for adults. It's easy for us to identify. But for those that happen at home, it's very difficult, because some of them, they don't want to report. Even the mothers do not encourage them to report. That's why some girls, they feel that they're depressed. They try to commit suicide because of that. Because if my own mother doesn't want to hear me out, who else will do that? Where else can I go to? That's why we go to school for advocacy. This is not just for boys, but also for girls, because we want them to know what are their rights
Right.
as a human being, not just for girls and boys. And we kept reminding them how do they go about with it. We give them the phone numbers, we give the WhatsApp numbers, and then we want to make sure that these children know what to do. Who else if not their own parents? But if their parents cannot be relied on, I'm not saying not trusted, but
Right.
cannot be relied on, because mothers, they may not want the father to go to jail. So okay, never mind, we will handle this. The next person normally is a teacher. That's why we want to make sure. That's why we go to school to tell the teachers, you are the only person whom they depend on if their own parents cannot be depended on.
Right.
So we also educate the children in school. Then we do advocacy from time to time. Now we already about almost 10 schools now.
Mm.
We are targeting 300 schools
Oh, okay.
at the moment.
Great, yeah.
Of course, we have 10,000 over schools in the country. Yeah.
Yeah.
But from every from time to time, we maybe we
Expanding it.
mix
Yeah.
the numbers of schools and we join them.
Understood.
Given the positive feedback that you've received already on
Yeah.
this, can you provide us with some numbers as to how much it's helped to decrease the cases of sexual harassment?
It's not a matter of being reduced, okay, but
Mhm.
it's the number that have been. Let me see.
Sure.
I need the figures here.
Boleh.
It's the numbers that have been reported to us. Based on the, actually, we have received 1,582 reported that they experienced some form of sexual harassment.
Right.
This was last year because we have not started again this year.
Mhm.
Just men? Just men or
27% of them were
Okay.
men,
All right.
which is 427 of them were men.
Okay. Wow.
So I'm not saying it's reduced. We cannot compare whether it's reduced or not because it depends on who went to report. Because if
Right.
they don't report, that means you don't have the data.
But you do feel that there have been a lot more cases that are not
Yes,
reported,
yes, because some of them they're shy.
right? Right.
They are shy. They don't want to report. As you said, the men they feel that they are macho. Why should I be reporting? It's so embarrassing to report. So but women now they are very open. That's why during our program, advocacy program, we have them to draw or to just to express themselves from their drawing. We know that. I mean, the counselors know that they're facing some inner kind of problems,
Right.
and they don't want to speak up until when they are asked, okay, what do you mean by this? When they draw something, what do you mean by this? So they will tell the counselors. They're very open, and after there will be some more sessions with the counselors. Yeah.
We have one last question.
Okay, so to round off everything for today,
Yeah, to
that
wrap
was three. So on the topic still on harassment, we now have an anti-stalking law, which
Yeah.
applies to both men and women, and
Yeah.
it was enforced last year. It came into force last year. There are concerns, as with any crime, of under-reporting, because obviously before the law came into effect, we didn't have such thing to mitigate this. What is your message then to stalking victims out there to help their case?
Well, just like the sexual harassment victims, come forward to us. For stalking, they have to go to the police, okay? But for sexual harassment, they can come to us if they want to go through the tribunal. And don't be shy because this is not just happening to girls, but also to the boys, to the men, because it's just normal. The thing is, we have venues to help you. So we want them to come forward and help themselves because if they don't come to us, we don't know that they need help. And we have the counselors, and to be rest assured that it is all kept confidential because we are not supposed to share with other people, and that's how we are trying to assist them. But we keep our awareness program is ongoing. We have to keep doing this so that people will be aware of this kind of situation that happens even at home. That's why we even share with our colleagues so that in the house, make sure if you build, even if it is they call it rumah PPRT, or that house that's built by the government for them, make sure at least there are 3 rooms, so that you can avoid incest that's going on. And it's been happening in our country, and sad, but this is what that can cause problematic children out there because they feel so defenseless. They don't know where to go. They become very defensive. They become very aggressive because they don't want people to undermine them, to threaten them, and also to take advantage of them.
Right.
So this is the thing that can happen to the kids out there. And this is what we don't want to happen to our society.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's also part of the community's responsibility to know thy neighbor of sorts, right?
Yeah. That's why I said it is no longer menjaga tepi kain orang.
True.
It's
Yeah.
all about
Yeah.
helping.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
We have to for the
Yeah.
sake of our children and young ones. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That is, the end of our episode, unfortunately. But we have had such a very, enlightening discussion, especially with the Women, Family and Community Development Minister, Yang Berhormat Datuk Sri Nancy Shukri. Thank you so much, Datuk.
Well, thank you so much for
Pleasure to
having
have
this
you on the show.
session.
with us
Yeah.
today. Thank
Yeah,
you so
it's
much.
good. No matter how much, even though it's not that much, but at least we provide programs like this to keep people aware about what is happening.
Hopefully,
surrounding
this won't be the last time you'll be on set with
Please,
us.
yes, do come back and join us anytime.
No problem.
We'll
Yeah, no
always
problem.
be
We have a
happy to
lot of
have you.
issues.
Thank
Yeah.
you so
We
much.
have a
On the
lot
ground.
of agencies. Many agencies.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
we have to take care of the community as a whole.
Right.
Mhm.
Thank you, Hazrin, again for
Thank you.
being my co-host.
Thank you,
And
Datuk.
for our audience back at home, if you like this particular episode, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notification bell. If you haven't already, you're not only going to get beyond the headlines updates, other news reports from NSC Online will be delivered to you as well. Don't forget to also follow us on X, Threads, Instagram, Facebook. Now, my name is Amalina Kamal, and I'll see you again next week.